Learning Target 14, Day 3, we're going to take a look at graphing our arithmetic sequences. So that is our essential question. How do you graph a sequence? So our first sequence is -7, -5, -3, -1. A couple of different options when we're given a list of sequence. We could go ahead and write the equation the same way that we did yesterday. Another option is to just graph the list of numbers. So either way, we're going to start by figuring out our start value like we did yesterday. In this case, we've got a -7. Same process as yesterday, figure out that amount of change. -7 plus 2 gives us -5, plus 2 gives us -3, plus 2 gives us -1. So our amount of change is a +2. So from here, you could go ahead and write the equation, but another way to do this is to just graph them. And our amount of change is our rise over run. That might sound familiar. We're going to get into slope or rate of change next week. This is kind of the introduction to that. So our starting value goes on the y-axis. As a reminder, the horizontal line is our x-axis, and the vertical line is our y-axis. So we're going to start on the y-axis at -7. So we're going to go down 7 units and plot our first value. And then, as I mentioned, our amount of change is our rise over run. In this case, because our rise is a whole number, our run is going to be 1. So we're going to rise 2, run 1, rise 2, run 1, rise 2, run 1. So that's step 4. I like to repeat my slope over and over so that I can try and get a nice straight line when I graph, because I do not graph very straight lines. And then you can also extend the pattern backwards by going down and to the left. So the more ordered pairs I have, the more likely I am to get a somewhat straight line when I graph it. Let's look at one more of this type. We've got 8, 4, 0, -4. Same process, figure out that start value. So in this case, our first term is 8. Figure out that amount of change. If you're having a hard time looking at the numbers and knowing what you're adding to get to the next term, remember, you can take term 1 and subtract it from term 0. So 4 minus 8 is -4. 0 minus 4 is -4. -4 minus 0 is -4. So there's our amount of change. Go ahead and graph your starting point. And when your amount of change is a whole number, this applies. It's a bit too specific if your amount of change is a fraction, and we'll see how to graph that in a minute. So I'm going to start again, remembering x, y-axis. My starting value goes on the y-axis, and I'm going up 8. And then I use my slope because it's negative. Instead of rising, I'm going to fall 4 and go to the right one. And again, I like to plot as many points as I can in order to try and make as straight a line as possible. And this will be for the next video.